and welcome to Economics and You. I am your host, Mr. Samuelson. Last time we were together, we looked at buying principles and strategies. That is, specifically, we looked at the 3 specific buying principles that you should add to your purchasing habits. Today, we're going to be looking at consumerism. Let's go shopping. Let's start off by talking about consumer protection. Consumers should be concerned with the quality of products that they purchase. It's something that we need to be aware of. We want to make sure that we are getting the highest quality products that we can get. Now, there are several government agencies that work to help you with this, but it is your responsibility to be informed about your rights and about how these agencies work. Let's begin with the consumer rights side of this discussion. Consumer rights and consumerism was not all that big of a thing until the 1960s. Companies and businesses regularly ripped off the public. But in the 1970s, we started to have a shift in our view of how government should protect the citizens. And today, it is no longer the consumer's responsibility to know that a product is safe. Every product sold in a store, when used appropriately, should be safe. Consumers don't need to worry about food being healthy to a certain degree. Nobody is going to tell you that a cookie is better than an apple, but the idea that that cookie is made with ingredients that will not poison you is something that the government is on your side about. Additionally, advertising is supposed to be accurate. Companies can and do get in trouble for false advertising. Your specific rights, as outlined in the 1960s, include the right to safety against dangerous products, the right to information so that you can make an informed choice. For example, with a food product, they have to label what is in that food, and they can't add things to it that might be dangerous to you. Additionally, you have the right to choose between competing sellers. That is the elimination of monopoly in our government, in our society. There should not be a situation where there is only one provider of a good or service. The final one is the right to redress your grievances with a company. That is a right to receive money for damage caused by a faulty product. So you drive a brand new car home from the car dealership and you're pulling into your house and oops, the brakes on it don't work and you drive right through your garage. Well, not only will you not have to pay for that car, but the company that sold you a car with faulty brakes is going to have to pay for that garage as well, so long as you can prove it. Now, in this society, consumers do have responsibilities as well. These protections exist, but problems occur. So the responsibilities then fall toward our consumers. It is the consumer's responsibility, one, to notify the sellers of any problems. You can't expect your problem to be solved if you keep quiet about it and you don't tell the right people. So if there's a problem with a product that you purchase, you need to let the person who sold you that product know. Now, if the seller does not address that issue or doesn't address that issue in a satisfactory manner, the consumer can then involve the court system, and you can take them to small claims court. So if the seller of that car that sold you faulty brakes is not going to pay for the damages caused by their product, you can take them to court. Other responsibilities of the consumer to make sure that you get what you need out of these transactions. It's always best to start by suggesting a fair solution to the problem. Suggest to the seller a solution to whatever the issue is. Keep all of your receipts, guarantees, and contracts. Just keep them in a filing cabinet or a shoebox. It doesn't matter, but keep them somewhere and know where they are so that if you ever need to return a good, you've got the receipt for it. If a product is faulty, you've got that guarantee or that contract that shows that it should work. You also want to keep a record of each attempt to resolve an issue. So every time you call a company and you talk to somebody, record the time, the date, and the name of the person that you spoke to. If you ever do wind up in court, you're going to want that record. Also, you need to allow reasonable time for an issue to be addressed. Don't expect all issues to be resolved immediately. Sometimes it takes time, especially if we're dealing with a redress, especially if a company needs to give you money. Most likely, if you call that company and you're talking to a clerk on a phone, they don't have the authority to solve your issue, and it's got to move through that company before they can address it. Don't call the court and start filing paperwork the first hour after a problem. And finally, keep cool. Relax. Know that the system is there to support you. If you do need to call a company to deal with an issue, do not tear into whoever is on the phone, because most likely it's not their fault, it's somebody else in the company's fault, and they may not have the power to do anything. You've got to allow the process to move forward in a reasonable way, because again, there's plenty of systems in place to protect you. This is true for online shopping as well. Your rights and your responsibilities also extend to online shopping. People tend to be a little bit more short with companies in an online atmosphere because you're never actually looking somebody in the face or dealing with a person. But you are. On the other end of that computer is another human being, and we need to make sure that we are acting responsibly while also making sure that our rights are looked after. When shopping online, you want to do your research about companies. Okay. Don't just assume that they're all legitimate. Make sure that you know what type of company you're dealing with. And finally, do not submit personal information to online businesses. If one of them is asking you for that personal information that they don't need to know in order to make this transaction work, be very cautious in dealing with them. All right, that was it for today. Next time, we're going to be looking at Americans and credit. That is, how do we borrow money to afford all of those things that we can't actually pay for right now? Thank you for joining me today for Economics and You, and farewell.